The observation deck of Luna Station hummed with nervous energy as humanity prepared for the most significant moment in its history. Representatives from 57 nations crowded behind reinforced glass, their faces reflecting a mixture of awe and anxiety as they watched the sleek Zephyrian vessel's approach through the cosmic darkness. Dr. Sarah Chun adjusted her xenobiology badge nervously, her eyes fixed on the alien craft's elegant curves. After 18 months of long-distance communication through mathematical sequences and pictographs, they were finally meeting face-to-face. The Zephyrians had chosen humanity's lunar station as neutral ground, claiming their homeworld's atmosphere would be unsuitable for human physiology. "Magnificent, aren't they?" whispered Ambassador Marcus Webb, the UN's chief diplomatic representative. His weathered face bore the strain of months of preparation. "Imagine the technologies they might share with us." Sarah nodded, though her scientist's mind churned with questions. The Zephyrians had been remarkably evasive about their own biological makeup, sharing only basic atmospheric requirements and gravitational preferences. Their ships suggested a civilization far beyond human achievement. Yet something in their communications had struck her as oddly ... sterile. The main airlock cycled open with a soft hiss, and the first Zephyrian delegation stepped through. They were tall, graceful beings with translucent skin that seemed to shimmer with internal light. Their movements were fluid, almost dance-like, and their large, multifaceted eyes reflected the station's artificial lighting like prisms. "Welcome to Luna Station," Ambassador Webb began, his voice carrying across the ceremonial hall. "On behalf of humanity, that's when it happened." Dr. James Morrison, a station's chief medical officer, had been fighting seasonal allergies all week. The recycled air system had been acting up, circulating dust and allergens throughout the station. At the precise moment when humanity needed to make its best impression, Morrison's sinuses betrayed him. Double quotes. Chew. A sound exploded through the ceremonial hall like a gunshot. Every human present winced slightly. A few muttered, "Bless you," and life continued as normal. But the Zephyrian delegation's reaction was immediate and catastrophic. Their elegant forms suddenly rigid. They began emitting high-pitched harmonic frequencies that made the station's metal framework vibrate. Emergency lights flashed on their ships, and within seconds, the lead Zephyrian was speaking rapidly into a crystalline communication device. "Biological emergency protocol activated," the translator rendered their words in emotionless mechanical tones. "Suspected plague outbreak detected. Immediate quarantine procedures initiated." Ambassador Webb stepped forward, hands raised peacefully. "Please, there's been some misunderstanding." Dr. Morrison simply, "Do not approach." The Zephyrian's voice cracked with what seemed like genuine terror. "The contaminated individual is exhibiting violent systemic expulsion. Bodily fluids expelled at extreme velocity. Muscular convulsions indicate advanced system failure." Sarah felt her stomach drop as she watched the alien delegates backing toward their ships. Through the observation windows, she could see the Zephyrian fleet moving into defensive formations, their vessels' weapon systems powering up with ominous blue light. "Wait," she called out, her xenobiology training kicking in. "We need to explain," but the Zephyrians were already retreating. Their leader's parting words echoed through the hall with chilling finality. "Earth is under complete biological quarantine. No vessel may approach or leave. We will monitor the progression of this plague and take appropriate action to prevent its spread." The airlock sealed shut with a definitive clang, leaving the human delegation staring at each other in stunned silence. Outside, the Zephyrian fleet was already broadcasting warnings to the rest of the galaxy, describing humanity as a species in the final stages of a catastrophic biological collapse. Dr. Morrison, still holding a tissue to his nose, looked around at the shocked faces surrounding him. I'm really sorry about that. The pollen count has been murdered this week. Sarah closed her eyes, realizing with growing horror that the most important moment in human history had just been derailed by hay fever. Somewhere in the distance, she could hear the first emergency broadcasts from Earth, demanding to know why an alien fleet had suddenly surrounded their planet with weapons drawn. The age of first contact had begun with a sneeze, and it was already spiraling toward disaster. Asterisk. 48 hours after what the media had dubbed the sneeze heard round the world, Luna Station had become the epicenter of an interspecies crisis that no one fully understood. Sarah Chun found herself in the station's makeshift command center, surrounded by flickering holographic displays showing the Zephyrian fleet's increasingly aggressive positioning around Earth. They've deployed what appears to be a containment field, reported Commander Elena Vasquez, the station's military liaison. Her usually steady voice betrayed growing concern. Nothing gets in or out without their permission. 3 cargo ships tried to break through yesterday. They were simply ... stopped, not destroyed, just frozen in space. Sarah studied the alien formations through the observation deck's reinforced windows. The Zephyrian ships moved with an eerie precision, their hulls pulsing with that same blue energy that had activated during Morrison's unfortunate sneeze. She'd been trying to establish communication for 2 days, but the aliens seemed convinced that any contact would accelerate humanity's supposed plague. Dr. Chun, you need to see this, called out Dr. Lisa Park, the station's communications specialist. She was hunched over a console displaying intercepted Zephyrian transmissions. Our translation algorithms are finally making sense of their medical reports. Sarah hurried over, her heart sinking as she read the translated text. The aliens' medical analysis was both thorough and completely wrong. They described Morrison's sneeze as violent respiratory expulsion with muscular convulsions, indicating catastrophic system failure. They noted the distress secretions from his eyes and the ritual response of humans saying, "Bless you," which they interpreted as funeral rites. "They think we're all dying," Sarah whispered, the full scope of the misunderstanding finally becoming clear. "They're not trying to hurt us. They think they're watching us suffer through a plague." The situation on Earth was deteriorating rapidly. Without the ability to launch supply missions or conduct normal orbital operations, several space installations were running low on critical supplies. The International Space Station had already begun emergency rationing protocols. "There's more," Dr. Park continued, pulling up additional intercepted communications. "They're reporting to something called the Galactic Health Authority. Apparently, they've classified Earth as a Level 9 biological hazard, the highest rating in their system." Before Sarah could respond, the station's intercom crackled to life. "Dr. Chun to the medical bay. Priority 1. We have a situation." She raced through the station's corridors, her mind churning with possibilities. In the medical bay, she found Dr. Morrison standing over a patient, Lieutenant Rodriguez, who was lying on an examination table coughing violently. "Started about an hour ago," Morrison explained, his own eyes still slightly red from his ongoing allergies. "Dry cough, probably from the recycled air. But here's the problem," he gestured toward the external monitors. "The Zephyrians are watching." Through the medical bay's small porthole, Sarah could see a Zephyrian scout ship hovering just outside. Its sensor arrays focused directly on their location. The ship's hull was pulsing with increasingly rapid light patterns. "They're interpreting Rodriguez's cough as the next stage of the plague," Sarah realized with growing horror. And Morrison's continued sniffling as ongoing deterioration. As if summoned by her words, the station's communication system activated. The mechanical voice of the Zephyrian translator filled the medical bay. "Attention human facility. Our medical scanners indicate the plague has progressed to secondary respiratory distress in multiple individuals. We are prepared to offer compassionate termination to prevent further suffering. The blood drained from Sarah's face. They're talking about euthanasia. Dr. Chun, Morrison said quietly, I think we need to understand something about these aliens. Their medical readings are incredibly sophisticated. They can detect the tiniest biological changes. But they're interpreting everything as pathology. Rodriguez chose that moment to yawn, his jaw stretching wide as his body demanded oxygen. The Zephyrian ship immediately began broadcasting urgent signals to the rest of the fleet. The infected, INDIVIL, is displaying oral dilation syndrome, the translator announced. Advanced neural degradation confirmed. Recommend immediate intervention. Sarah watched in fascination and terror as the alien fleet began moving into what appeared to be an attack formation. They weren't preparing to destroy humanity out of malice. They genuinely believed they were about to perform a mercy killing on an entire species. Get me a direct line to the Zephyrian command ship, she ordered. I don't care if they think I'm contagious. We need to talk before they decide to help us die. As the communication system worked to establish a connection, Sarah caught her reflection in the medical bay's polished surface. Her eyes were slightly bloodshot from stress and lack of sleep, her hair disheveled from days of crisis management. She realized with grim irony that she probably looked exactly like what the Zephyrians expected from a plague victim. Outside, the alien fleet continued its graceful, deadly dance around Earth, preparing to save humanity from a disease that existed only in their perfectly logical, perfectly wrong analysis. Part 3. The biology of misunderstanding the communication link, crackled to life with a harmony of crystalline tones that made Sarah's teeth ache. She stood in Luna Station's primary communications chamber, flanked by Ambassador Webb and a hastily assembled team of linguists and medical experts. The holographic projection of the Zephyrian medical commander materialized before them, a tall, elegant being whose translucent skin pulsed with soft, rhythmic light. I am Healer Prime Zalthea, the figure announced, their voice rendered in flat, mechanical tones by the translation matrix. We have monitored your biological deterioration for 72 of your time periods. Your species displays remarkable resilience, but the plague progression is unmistakable. Sarah stepped forward, fighting every instinct that told her to sneeze, cough, or show any sign of normal human biology. Healer Prime, we need to discuss what you're interpreting as a plague. What you witnessed was not a disease. It was a normal biological function called sneezing. The Zephyrian's large, multifaceted eyes seemed to focus on her with what might have been confusion. Impossible. Our medical scanners detected explosive fluid expulsion at 160 of air velocity units, muscular convulsions, systemic distress. These are terminal symptoms. No, Sarah said patiently. They're seasonal allergies. A reaction to airborne particles. Dr. Morrison's body was simply trying to expel irritants from his nasal passages. Zalthea's form shimmered, and Sarah realized the alien was consulting with others of their kind. When they spoke again, their tone carried what the translator rendered as deeper concern. You describe voluntary tolerance of biological dysfunction. This suggests advanced neurological compromise. The plague affects reasoning centers. Ambassador Webb tried to interject, but Sarah gestured for him to remain silent. She was beginning to understand something crucial about Zephyrian biology. Healer Prime, does your species ever experience involuntary biological responses? Sudden, muscular contractions, fluid expulsion, or loss of conscious control? The pause that followed was telling. When Zalthea spoke again, their harmonic frequency had shifted to what Sarah's enhanced translation protocols identified as deep discomfort. Involuntary responses indicate system failure. Our species evolved beyond such ... imperfections. Many cycles ago. But you still feel emotions, make decisions, experience unpredictable thoughts? These are managed through biological optimization. We do not suffer from the chaos of uncontrolled biology. Sarah felt a chill of understanding. The Zephyrians hadn't just evolved differently. They had engineered away every aspect of biological spontaneity. No wonder they couldn't comprehend sneezing, coughing, or even laughter. "Watch this," she said, and deliberately took a deep breath of the station's recycled air. Her dust allergies, suppressed by antihistamines for the past 2 days, responded immediately. Achoo. The holographic image of Zalthea flickered and distorted as the Zephyrian recoiled in horror. "The contamination spreads. You deliberately induced system failure." "I induced a sneeze," Sarah corrected. "It's not system failure. It's system maintenance. Our bodies naturally expel irritants this way." Before Zalthea could respond, the station's intercom activated. "Dr. Chun to the recreation deck. We have a situation." Sarah's heart sank as she recognized the voice of Lieutenant Chun, no relation, the station's morale officer. She'd been trying to keep the crew's spirits up during the quarantine, but Sarah had specifically ordered all recreational activities to be conducted away from external sensors. "Continue monitoring," she told the Zephyrian, then raced through the station's corridors. She arrived at the recreation deck to find the crew watching a comedy show on the main screen and laughing Dot through the deck's large observation windows. She could see 3 Zephyrian medical ships positioned directly outside, their sensor arrays focused on the humans inside. The aliens were recording everything. "Turn it off," Sarah ordered, but it was too late. The crew's laughter had already been detected and analyzed. The communication system activated again, Zalthea's voice now carrying harmonics that suggested panic. "The plague has reached the neurological stage. Infected individuals are displaying aggressive facial contortions, violent respiratory expulsions, and vocalizations indicating severe distress." "That's laughter," Sarah tried to explain. "It's an expression of joy, not distress. Joy produces violent physical responses. This confirms advanced brain dysfunction." Sarah realized she was facing an impossible communication barrier. The Zephyrians' perfectly controlled biology made them incapable of understanding the chaotic, involuntary nature of human biology. To them, any loss of control was pathological. "Dr. Chun," came Morrison's voice over the intercom, "you need to." "No, the crew is getting restless. Martinez just started hiccuping, and the alien sensors are going crazy. And there's something else, ... Sarah closed her eyes, dreading what was coming next. The Zephyrians have been broadcasting to the galaxy. They're calling for a compassionate intervention. 3 more alien species are en route to help with what they're calling the humane termination of the plague world. Through the observation windows, Sarah could see the Zephyrian fleet repositioning itself into what was unmistakably a mercy-killing formation. Their weapons weren't designed to conquer. They were designed to provide what they believed would be a quick, painless end to humanity's suffering. The most terrifying part was that they were doing it out of genuine compassion. Asterisk the emergency. Session in Luna Station's command center felt like a war council preparing for a battle that couldn't be won through conventional means. Sarah stood before a holographic display showing the approaching alien fleet's 5 different species, all responding to the Zephyrians' call for a compassionate intervention to end humanity's supposed plague. "The crystalline collective will arrive in 18 hours, reported Commander Vasquez, her voice tight with suppressed panic. "The ethereal syndicate in 24. 3 other species are still calculating their approaches, but they're all coming to help the Zephyrians. End our misery." Sarah had been awake for 36 hours straight, fueled by coffee and the desperate need to prevent the extinction of her species. Her eyes were bloodshot, her hair disheveled, and she'd developed a nervous tic that made her blink. Rapidly all symptoms that the Zephyrian medical scanners would undoubtedly interpret as advanced plague progression. "We need to understand what we're really dealing with," she said, pulling up her analysis of the intercepted Zephyrian medical data. "I've been studying their biological scans, and I think I know why they can't comprehend normal human biology." Ambassador Webb, who looked just as exhausted as Sarah felt, leaned forward. "What did you find?" "The Zephyrians aren't just naturally evolved beings without involuntary responses," Sarah explained, highlighting specific data points on the holographic display. "They've been genetically modified. Extensively. Look at these cellular structures. They're too perfect, too symmetrical. No natural evolution produces this level of biological optimization." Dr. Morrison, who had been quietly monitoring the alien communications, looked up from his console. "That would explain why they're so horrified. By our chaotic biology. They've literally engineered away every aspect of biological spontaneity." "But here's the thing," Sarah continued. "Their medical scans show something else. Tiny irregularities in their brain chemistry, microscopic cellular damage, neurological patterns that suggest—" She paused, the implications of her discovery still sinking in. "Suggest what?" Webb demanded. "They're dying. Not individually as a species. Their perfect biological control is killing them." The room fell silent except for the hum of the station's life support systems. Sarah pulled up additional data, showing the Zephyrian fleet's medical readings. Every single Zephyrian shows signs of advanced cellular stagnation. Their DNA repair mechanisms are failing. Their immune systems are compromised. By eliminating all biological imperfections, they've also eliminated their species' ability to adapt, to evolve, to survive. Asterisk. "You're saying they're going extinct?" Commander Vasquez asked. "I'm saying they're already extinct. They just don't know it yet. Their current generation might be the last. And they're so focused on their medical emergency protocols that they can't see their own species is collapsing." Before anyone could respond, the communication system activated. But instead of Healer Prime Zalthia's familiar harmonic tones, they heard a different voice, younger, more urgent. "Human facility, this is Junior Healer Kethra. I am breaking protocol to contact you directly." The holographic projector flickered to life, showing a Zephyrian who appeared noticeably different from Zalthia. Their translucent skin bore tiny flaws, microscopic blemishes that made them look somehow more real, more alive. "Junior Healer," Sarah said carefully, "why are you contacting us against protocol?" "Because I have been studying your biological data, and I believe you are not dying." The relief in the command center was palpable, but Kethra continued before anyone could celebrate. "But I also believe my species is. We have eliminated all biological variability in pursuit of perfection. We cannot adapt to new environmental challenges. We cannot evolve. We cannot even reproduce naturally anymore. All offspring are artificially created from stored genetic templates." "How many of your people know this?" Sarah asked. "Few. The Healer Prime caste refuses to acknowledge the data. They believe our biological perfection is the highest achievement of evolution. They cannot conceive that your chaotic biology might be superior." Sarah felt a spark of hope. "Kethra, we need to meet. Face to face. Can you arrange it?" "Impossible. The quarantine protocols are designed to prevent the spread of disease," Sarah interrupted. "But what if we could prove to your medical scanners that we're not diseased? What if we could show them that our biology isn't failing? It's thriving." There was a long pause. Then Kethra spoke, their voice carrying harmonics that suggested both fear and desperate hope. "The other species will arrive soon. If we cannot convince the Healer Prime caste before then, they will proceed with the termination. 5 species, all believing they are performing a mercy killing. Then we need to show them something they've never seen before, Sarah said, a plan forming in her mind. We need to show them what biological imperfection actually looks like when it's working correctly. She turned to her team, her exhaustion replaced by fierce determination. Get me every person on this station who has allergies, who sneezes, who coughs, who laughs, who hiccups, who yawns. We're going to give the Zephyrians the most comprehensive demonstration of healthy human biology they've ever seen. Dr. Chun, Morrison said quietly, you realize that if this doesn't work, we'll have just provided them with detailed scans of our symptoms right before they decide to put us out of our misery. Sarah nodded grimly. Then we better make sure it works, because in 12 hours, half the galaxy is going to be convinced that the kindest thing they can do is kill every human being alive. Asterisk. The main hangar of Luna Station had been transformed into something unprecedented in human history, a medical theater designed to save a species by celebrating its flaws. Sarah stood at the center of the makeshift demonstration area, surrounded by 50 volunteers from the station's crew, each one representing a different aspect of humanity's imperfect biology, dot through the hangar's massive transparent aluminum windows. She could see the alien armada in its final approach 5 species. Hundreds of ships, all convinced they were about to perform the galaxy's most compassionate act of mass euthanasia. Remember, Sarah addressed her volunteers, we're not trying to suppress our biology today. We're trying to show them that everything they think is wrong with us is actually right. Lieutenant Rodriguez stepped forward, his seasonal allergies in full bloom thanks to the carefully cultivated dust particles Sarah had introduced to the hangar's air system. Dr. Chun, are you sure about this? If we're wrong about their intentions, ... Then we die as ourselves, Sarah replied, instead of being killed by beings who think they're saving us from suffering. The massive hangar doors cycled open, and the first Zephyrian delegation entered. But unlike their previous encounter, this group was led by both Healer Prime Zalthia and Junior Healer Kethra, flanked by representatives from each of the arriving species. Sarah recognized the crystalline collective's geometric forms and the ethereal syndicate's flowing energy patterns. Each species brought their own medical scanners, their own interpretations of biological health, their own certainty that humanity was doomed. Healer Prime Zalthia, Sarah began, before you proceed with your ... intervention, we request the right to demonstrate our actual biological condition. The Zephyrians' harmonics carried skeptical concern. We have observed your condition extensively. Further exposure to your suffering is unnecessary. Please, Sarah insisted, give us 10 minutes to show you what human biology actually looks like when it's functioning correctly. She gestured to her volunteers, and the demonstration began. Rodriguez sneezed not the violent explosion of foreign contaminants that the aliens perceived, but a perfectly natural expulsion of irritants that kept his respiratory system clear. The alien medical scanners detected the sneeze, but Sarah's team had prepared detailed biological explanations that accompanied each reading. Respiratory maintenance, she explained, as the data flowed across the alien scanners. His body is protecting itself from harmful particles. The violence you perceive is actually precision, his nervous system calculating the exact force needed to clear his airways. Dr. Morrison began coughing, his body responding to the carefully controlled irritants in the air. Bronchial clearing mechanism, Sarah continued. His lungs are expelling accumulated particles that could cause actual damage if left unchecked. The aliens' medical readings showed the same catastrophic data as before, but now Sarah was providing context. She gestured to Lieutenant Chun, who began laughing at a joke whispered by her colleague. Neurological optimization, Sarah explained as the alien scanners detected the complex brain chemistry changes that accompanied laughter. Social bonding mechanism, stress reduction, immune system enhancement. What you interpret as neurological distress is actually neurological maintenance. One by one, her volunteers demonstrated the full range of human biological imperfections, yawning to regulate brain temperature, hiccuping as their diaphragms reset, even crying as Chief Petty Officer Adams shared a memory of his deceased father. Emotional regulation, Sarah said softly, as the alien scanners detected the complex biochemical processes underlying human tears. Pain processing, memory consolidation, social communication. His body is healing psychological trauma through biological expression. But the breakthrough came when Kethra suddenly stepped forward, their own form beginning to shimmer with what appeared to be distress. Healer Prime, they said, their harmonic frequency cracking slightly. I am experiencing ... irregularities. Sarah watched in fascination as the young Zephyrian's perfect translucent skin began to show minute variations in color and texture. Their controlled movements became slightly erratic. Their harmonic speech patterns developed tiny imperfections. You're feeling, Sarah realized. You're experiencing involuntary biological responses. This is contamination, Zalthea declared, their scanners focusing on Kethra's changing biology. The plague has transmitted to our species. No, Sarah said firmly. It's healing. Kethra, describe what you're experiencing. The young Zephyrian's form continued to shift, their perfect biological control slowly giving way to something more chaotic, more alive. I feel ... uncertain, curious. There are thoughts I cannot control, sensations I cannot predict. My cellular structure is diversifying. Sarah turned to the assembled alien representatives, her voice carrying the weight of species-level importance. Your medical scanners are detecting the same changes in Kethra that you've been observing in us. But they're not symptoms of disease, they're symptoms of biological vitality. She gestured to the ongoing readings from both human and Zephyrian subjects. Every species in this hangar has achieved perfect biological control by eliminating variability. But variability isn't a flaw, it's the foundation of survival. Our sneezes, our coughs, our laughter, our tears, these aren't signs of system failure. They're signs of a biological system so robust that it can afford to be imperfect. Healer Prime. Zalthea studied the medical readings, their harmonics shifting to frequencies that suggested deep contemplation. You propose that biological chaos is ... advantageous? I propose that biological chaos is life, Sarah replied. Your species eliminated imperfection and achieved biological stagnation. We embraced imperfection and achieved biological resilience. Around the hangar, the other alien species were conducting their own medical analysis. The crystalline collective's geometric forms began to shift slightly, their perfect symmetry developing tiny variations. The ethereal syndicate's energy patterns started to fluctuate in ways that suggested curiosity rather than certainty. The human demonstrates accurate biological analysis, announced the crystalline collective's representative. Our own species shows signs of adaptive stagnation. Concur, added the ethereal syndicate. Perfect control produces perfect vulnerability. Sarah felt a wave of relief as she watched the alien armada's weapon systems powering down. But her scientific mind was already racing ahead to the implications of what had just occurred. Healer Prime, she said, if you're willing, we'd like to propose a different kind of intervention. Not to end our suffering, but to share our chaos. Our biological imperfection might be able to help your species remember how to be imperfect again. Zalthea's harmonics carried what the translator rendered as wonder. You would share your ... disorder. With us, we would share our life with you, Sarah corrected. Because the most beautiful thing about biological imperfection is that it's designed to be shared, adapted, and passed on. Our sneezes, our laughter, our tears, they're not just individual experiences. They're the foundation of biological community. As the alien representatives began to discuss this unprecedented proposal, Sarah realized that the sneeze that had nearly ended humanity might instead become the beginning of something far more remarkable, the galaxy's first truly diverse biological alliance. The age of first contact hadn't ended with quarantine and mercy killing. It had begun with the recognition that imperfection, chaos, and biological vulnerability were not weaknesses to be eliminated, but strengths to be celebrated and shared. And it all started with hay fever. The E&D Sneeze Protocol explores how our most mundane human experiences, the involuntary, imperfect, and chaotic aspects of our biology, might be the very things that make us remarkable in the universe.